All righty, welcome into the Gary Ayd Show here on the Cave, cavetalkradio.com and the Cave Talk Radio app. It's great to have you aboard, Gary Ayd, Rich, and Selmo. And you know what? I got to tell you something, Rich. A lot to get you today, diving right into it. Download the Cave Talk Radio app if you haven't already. It's available for free in both Apple and Google Play. So many things to talk about today. Of course, the local breaking news. Aaron Judge re-ups with the Yankees. 9 years, $360 million. It's a lot of money. He's 30 years old, so he's going to be basically 40 just about when this contract ends, 39. And I'll tell you what, the Yankees cost themselves about $150 million by being morons last offseason. And, you know, normally costing your employer $150 million means you get fired or relieved or, let go. But no, not in Yankee land. Cashman also cashing in on his brilliant management of this team that's been exactly the same for 10 years and achieved nothing, to the tune of a 4-year extension a few days ago, too. So everyone's back in town, baby. And you know what I'm excited for? Yankee baseball to be 90 to 95 wins and out in the first or second round because they can't hit because they only have power hitters and nothing else. Because we've seen this movie before, I don't know, for 9 straight years? 7 straight years? Like, okay, great. You got Judge back. And you had to get Judge back. We were saying all season the Yankees were caught between a rock and a hard place based off their own mismanagement for the most part. But then Judge goes out there and has this historic season, and boom, now this is the result. And Buster Olney of ESPN was saying the Yankees surrendered to Judge completely, and yeah, they did, and they didn't have a choice. I mean, the public relations disaster this would have been of epic proportions. Not to mention, he is obviously a awesome player, so you'd hate to lose a guy like that just purely based off of what he brings to the field. Like, they couldn't lose him, and they knew that. And it was reported that the Giants maybe offered a little more money, but the Yankees' money was close.
A lot more.
Well, it was $300 million or $360 the last I saw from the Giants, which is what he signed.
The Giants were closer to $400 million.
Okay, the last report I saw about the Giants was the same exact contract he signed with the Yankees. 9 years, $360. So,
okay, I saw a little higher, but I don't think it mattered. I really don't. I think that he was going to stay there anyway.
Yeah, maybe the Giants just got used as useful leverage, but either way, now it's a question of, can the team be any better? And there's no reason to think they will be, really, when you look at this roster right now. I mean, maybe if DJ LeMahieu's healthy next year and has sort of a rebirth season, which is very possible, that will help some. But, besides that, what is there to look at and think, okay, this team's going to be appreciably better than they were last year? I don't see it.
Didn't they just lose a pitcher, too?
Yeah, well, the Mets, speaking of losing pitchers, the Mets lost Taijuan Walker, who signed with Philly. Philly is scary.
Yankees.
Yeah, Philly, well, you look that up. Philly is scary. They signed Taijuan Walker away from the Mets, so that's a double whammy. Weaken an opponent, a division opponent, strengthen yourself. Of course, they signed Trey Turner the other day to that 11-year, $300-something million contract. So you're talking about a lineup now that includes Trey Turner, JT Realmuto, Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, Rhys Hoskins. I mean, this is a scary, scary lineup.
Jameson Taillon.
Where'd he go?
Cubs.
Hey, there you go. And also the Cubs signed Cody Bellinger, too, for 1 year and $17 million. Low risk, high reward.
Oh, yeah. That's virtually no risk
in
1 year.
Exactly. So that's interesting day in baseball. Yeah, the Phillies, I have to tell you something. The Phillies are going to be scary. That lineup is terrifying. I mean, you add Trey Turner to that lineup from last year. I mean, that NL East, you talk about a gauntlet of a division. You're talking about 3 teams that are going to probably be 100-win teams or close to it. I mean, you're talking about the Braves who won a World Series 2 years ago, the Phillies who were in the World Series last year, and the Mets who had one of the best records in the National League most of last year before their late season meltdown. That's a tough division. And the Yankees division.
It is.
Yankees, the one thing the Yankees might have going for them, I think their division is fairly soft. I think it's fairly overrated. The Red Sox are on a downward trajectory right now. I think they're going to be bad again before they get good again. So I think they're not a factor next year. I think the Rays always do it with smoke and mirrors. They always seem to beat the Yankees, but like I think they're continuing to trend back more toward mediocrity. And I think the Blue Jays are going to be a classic example of failure to launch. I think there is always going to be like, oh, Toronto. I don't think Toronto is ever going to really put it together. I think they're going to be like basically the Angels. A couple of really sexy players that are fun to watch, but really are never truly a threat as a team.
I completely disagree.
We'll see. Yeah, I just don't believe in them anymore. I've been like high on them the last couple of years. They've disappointed me 2 years in a row. And I'm just thinking they're kind of going to be stuck in like the team that was supposed to be that never was. So I think the Yankees have a much easier path in the AL East than the Mets are going to have in the NL East. Baltimore is the team I'm curious about going into this year, which I don't usually say because, well, why would I? But they've sworn up and down they're going to spend money anytime now, guys. Like, let's go. Let's see this spending spree.
I never thought it was going to be a spending spree.
Well, they basically more or less said that they were going to go out there and sign veteran players to make their team better and spend money. And I just want to see something. Like, can we get it?
I figured they'd do something, but would be a little judicious about it.
What are you writing? You're like writing a dissertation on the air today. What's going on?
Oh, sorry. sorry, my research got to you. Seeing as how we have our logo thing up, no one else could have seen it.
Oh, that's funny. I don't know, but I'm looking at the Yankees and I think to myself, man, they're just gonna be the same team over again. And you know, it's going to be good enough to sell tickets. It's going to be good enough to win games. It's going to be good enough to make the playoffs. And then it's not going to be good enough once you get to the playoffs. That's the MO. And I don't see that changing.
What's the definition of insanity?
Right. I mean, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results.
Absolutely. That's the prescription.
Yeah, there we go. There's the prescription. A little coffee. What now? Here's the other thing that might work in the Yankees' favor too. At some point over the last 4 off seasons, the Astros have lost so many guys. George Springer, the other outfielder, Carlos Correa. They've lost, of course, Garrett Cole. Now they've lost Justin Verlander. At some point, this stuff has to matter, right? Like, because they keep just being just as good somehow, and like, I mean, those are great players, every one of them.
They have an excellent system. If they lose someone, it's usually their own doing. If they have to sign someone, they do. If they feel they have someone sitting there just as good and they can use that money in other places or at the trade deadline, they won't sign them.
I wonder who that person is that's sitting there just as good as Justin Verlander. That's a good question.
Probably no one, but it doesn't mean they don't have a young pitcher that can come in and take that spot.
Yeah.
I'm not going to doubt the champions yet.
I'm questioning the just the attrition. I mean, it's over the course of a number of years now, and I'm just at some point they have to like that attrition has to matter. I mean, you can't just keep losing good player after good player
And
And
Springer's been great for the Blue Jays.
yeah, he has.
Really has, but they didn't miss him.
No, they've managed to this point for it to not affect them. But
I mean, I get what you're saying. That could end.
at some point you lose enough of these guys that like it has to matter at some point, right? Like I don't
I'm
know.
going to give them the benefit of the doubt until they prove me wrong.
I mean, it's hard not to. I understand that line of thinking, but like you just look at it and you think, okay, well, what's next? Now, there's a lot going on. I mean, this has been a really exciting, really fun baseball off season. I mean, this has been really great. This has been one of the cooler baseball off seasons that we've had in a very long time.
It has. There's so much going
Oh,
on.
it's been awesome. It's been absolutely awesome. And I'm all for it because, you know, like with a lot of sports, I mean, the NBA is like this too. Not so much the NFL, but like the off season, the hot stove.
The NFL has its own things though that makes it year round.
Well, the draft and of course the combine,
yep,
right?
The draft,
but like free agency, specifically in baseball and the NBA, is one of the highlights of the whole year. It really is.
Oh yeah,
it's very exciting.
The way the contracts are written, it's harder in football.
Yes.
And how many good, really good NFL players, particularly quarterbacks, get to free agency?
Not many.
I mean, we're going to see one this year.
Yeah, not many. Yeah, you can see Lamar
everybody's
Jackson.
Making a really big deal about it.
Yep.
Because it doesn't happen.
No, it's true. It's true.
I mean, you'll get wide receivers, but a lot of those, even like A.J. Brown, that was a trade.
Right.
It wasn't even free agency. So doubling down on what you said, the NFL, it's not the same impact. July 1st for the NBA is like a holiday.
Oh, it really, truly is. When you start talking about all the different, like, oh my God, there's so much. I mean, and the great thing about the NBA is if you have a good year, a good off-season year, if a couple of things drag out a little bit, there's a little drama, some indecisiveness, whatever, you can get big name free agents into the beginning of August, which covers at least part of the Sahara Desert of the sports calendar. There's just nothing really exciting going on that month. So like I remember
50% of the names signed within the first week.
Well, that's just it. But
there's always staggerers.
Yeah, but they don't usually last all the way into August. I remember the year of LeBron's decision when he left Cleveland the first time. That was decided in like the middle of August. That was like August 15th or 12th or something like that. And I loved it.
Was it that far along?
It was, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I loved it because like I got to like not have to have this like whole month and a half of relatively nothing. It was the only sports story anyone was talking about because there's not a lot going on that time of year in the sports calendar. I mean, there's just, regular season, dog days of summer baseball. The deadline is passed. The All-Star game is passed. Like the NFL season's still 2 months away. I mean, it like that's just a dead zone, and that was cool.
It was. It was.
So I remember that. That was 10 years ago now, but I remember that to this day.
Not cool for the people of Cleveland, but
no, it's not. That's true. But they got theirs a few years later.
They ended up getting what they wanted.
Yep,
so.
That's very true. So there you have it. All right, let's take a first break. We'll come back. I got a secondary rant today. The Miami Heat. The Heat is turned off in Miami. Is it time?
It sure was against Detroit yesterday.
Is it time for a change at the helm? That is the question we'll discuss back after this. The Gary Ayd Show here in the Cave.
Do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call. Because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at crazy low prices. They have access to great prices and discounts at over 500 different airlines, plus 300,000 hotels and rental car companies. Their prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find the best price for you. Call SmartFares today and get ready to see the world with a fat wallet.
800-370-2460. 800-370-2460. 800-370-2460. That's 800-370-2460.
Come on, you watch the news. Be prepared to pay more taxes. Then if you owe back taxes or haven't filed in a few years, get ready. The IRS, the largest collection agency in the world, will be coming after you with the power to collect taxes by any means they want to. Hey, they can freeze your bank account, your passport, even padlock your business. Oh, good times. Look, if the IRS claims you owe them $5,000 or more in back taxes and they're coming after you, don't panic. Call my friends at Get a Tax Lawyer first. Their job is to negotiate with the IRS and save you money. They're experts at it. That's all they do, and you can trust them. In some cases, they have reduced a $50,000 tax bill to less than $1,000. If you owe the IRS $5,000 or more in back taxes, call now for a free consultation.
Call 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. That's 800-649-8617.
All right. So the Miami Heat got absolutely bludgeoned by the Detroit Pistons, who are one of the 5 worst teams in the NBA the other day. They lost by like 30 points. I think it was like 116-86 or something horrible like
96.
that. 96. Okay, yeah. That's
Still a big loss.
That's brutal. That's 30 points. And that's just 20 points. That's to an awful team. I am at the point now with Miami, and it's not just because of this one game, because it's one game, even though it's Detroit and it's a terrible loss, it's one game. But this is a team now that is right around or just under 500. They were supposed to be a finals contender. And we're not like, I can't just say, oh, it's early now. You know, it's a quarter or so of the way through the season. It's not late, but it's not like, we're not like a week or two in either. We're not like 10 games in. So I'm beginning to believe what these teams' records are telling me. You know, there's still a few that I think will even out because of some abnormalities. Like, it's not fully mature yet, but I'm beginning to believe some of these records. And Miami, to me, I've watched them a few times. They give off every vibe of an average team that is less interested than they should be and less communicative than they've been in the past when I watch them. I don't see them talking as much on defense. I don't see them rotating as much. They still play good defense because they have great defensive talent, but it's clearly a depreciation, and their offense is painful at times, like frequently painful. And I just wonder, look, Eric Spoelstra is one of the great coaches in the NBA, but he's been the head coach there now for like 15 years or something. 2007, I think. So like, you're talking 14 years. Talk all the time. I mean, Larry Bird himself said it. After 3 years, they tune you out. Well, if that's the case, what do they do after 15 years? Do they carry you out? Like, well, like what happens? So I just wonder, is it time for a different voice to lead that room? Is it time for a fresh perspective? Because this team, to me, is too good to be this average. And I don't think it's a roster problem. They don't have a perfect roster, but they have a roster far better than it's performing right now, I think.
I 1000% understand where you're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't disagree, but I 995% don't want to do this right now.
And I understand that too. It's a hard decision because of how good
A
he is.
very hard
It
decision.
is. I mean, and Riley doesn't want to do it. I mean, Spoelstra is like his surrogate son. We
It's
know
going to
that.
have to come from above him. Riley's not going to do it.
No, that would have to be Mickey Arison. And then, the thing is, if Mickey did that, or someone of the Arison family, I wouldn't be surprised if that was like Riley decide, okay, it's my time to go too. Like Riley might be that loyal to him.
That's what I'm thinking. I don't even know if it's loyalty as much as if you take a decision like that away from Riley, he's going to say, what am I doing?
Well, there's that too, but
I'm old. I'll leave.
Right.
I don't need to work anymore.
Well, no.
I'll hang out. I'll hang out in the sun for the rest of my life. I don't care.
Well, I think personally, the reason Riley wouldn't end up making that decision is not because the organization doesn't trust him to make it, but because of what you just said. He will never make it. It's too personal to him. It's like when a judge recuses themselves from a case because it's, it maybe involves a family member or something. It's kind of like that. Like, I don't know that Riley should make that decision, to be honest with you. I think he's too close to Spoelstra to make that choice.
I agree.
It's like his kid. I mean, it's like his son.
But who on the staff's going to do a better job?
Well, I don't know that the answer is in-house necessarily.
I think the roster's a bit more flawed than you do. I think Kyle Lowry's on a downward spiral. Not a fast one, but I think he's getting there.
Yep.
I don't see a full answer at the wing outside of Butler. They have a 6'8" center, albeit a fine runner of the floor and rebounder and shot blocker, but it's a 6'8" center.
Right.
I think the roster is flawed. If they decide to let Spoelstra go, okay. If someone comes in and wants to take this roster and run with it, go for it. But I think if that's the case and they decide to chop Spo off, I think it's time to start gutting the roster and rebuilding.
See, no, and that's where I don't agree. I think that the only reason I would move from Spo is because I believe that we can achieve something with this roster, that it's just getting lost in translation from the coaching staff. If I came to the conclusion that the roster is not good enough, like what you were just intimating, I would keep Spo and start moving the players. The only reason
I don't think the roster is good enough. I think that's our disconnect.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, I don't know that it's championship good, but it's definitely 50 plus wins good. And right now they're not going to do that either. I mean, they're closer to the lottery than they are to, being a threat. And, I think it could use some tweaks. Like I said, I don't think it's perfect. I absolutely agree with you. They could use a big, strong body and move Bam to his natural position of 4. There's no doubt about that.
How about moving Butler to the 3?
Yeah, Butler should be at the 3.
And putting Hero in the starting lineup. I mean, what did he do last night? What did he have, about 30?
Yeah. I understand why they keep him on the bench, because that bench is so anemic offensively. That's like kind of they're trying to keep it alive. But but no, I mean, he's a starter. I mean, he's a starting quality player. That's just what it is. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But there's been plenty.
I agree. The bench is anemic,
and there's been plenty of guys who are basically starters who serve their careers as sixth men because it's strategically advantageous to the team.
Yeah, you also have one of the worst scoring teams around.
Right. Well, yeah.
I think you need Hero for 36 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're a tweak or two away versus like a full-on overhaul. But I also think that they're underachieving even with the roster they do have. And, because besides Lowry, this isn't really an age problem. Jimmy is on the tail end of his, physical prime. He's not really old yet. Right. He's not young, but he's not old. He's like 32 or something. Bam
he put a lot of miles on in Chicago.
He did. and in his first couple of years in Miami, but he's still got tread on the tires. Hero is obviously young. Bam is in his mid-20s, early to mid, like 24, 25, 26, something like that. I mean, so this isn't an age problem. I mean, besides Lowry. But everything, I don't know. I look at this roster and I think to myself, this team should be better.
So you're telling me that it is not a roster problem, and Max Strus is going to push you to that 50-win mark with another coach?
I think this team collectively could absolutely win 50 games as presently constructed or better. Yes, I do believe that.
In this running NBA, I don't think there's enough scoring. There's not enough firepower there.
Yeah, I mean,
especially with your most offensively potent player on the bench.
Well, there you go. That's a coaching decision, isn't it? I mean, why isn't he in the starting lineup? Maybe that's something a new coach would change. I mean, I think the roster needs some upgrading and needs some tweaking. I don't think it's an amazing roster, but I think it's definitely a 50-plus win roster. I mean, I do.
Okay.
I do. I just think the trio of Butler, Bam, and Hero by themselves, that trio alone should give you around that 50-win mark. Like, to me, that trio alone is good enough.
Okay.
I mean, it has been until this year, right? I mean, the last couple of years, they've been that.
Last year, it was starting to show.
But they still won over 50, and they competed in the playoffs. I mean, like, right now, like, they're like barely, are they even in the playoff picture right now, or are they like just outside of it? Like,
oh, they're outside of it.
I mean, that's a precipitous drop for a team that's not aging out. And that's concerning to me. That's why I think it's coaching related.
Well, they're 11-14 now.
Yeah, it's not good.
No, it's not. And I don't know where I want to agree with you. Part of me is just having a hard time with it.
Yeah, and I never root for coaches to get fired whose names aren't Mike Brown or Mike D'Antoni or Steve Nash. Those are the three exceptions. But like,
what's your feeling on Popovich? He's had the seat for about 112 years.
Yeah, he's on like a lifetime agreement. I mean, look, the Spurs are awful, but like,
don't you think the game's passed him by?
Probably, but like, in this case of the Spurs, I don't have to look beyond the roster to know why they suck. I mean, we talked about that in the offseason. This is clearly a team in the middle of a total teardown. They're at the very bottom right now.
That's an 11-game losing streak.
That's really not on the coach at all. I mean, they don't. I mean, they barely have an NBA roster. They don't have an NBA roster, really.
No, they don't.
We talked about that in the offseason. We built like 5 teams from G League guys that would probably beat them. I mean, so that's really not the coach's fault.
Can we relegate the Spurs after this?
Yeah, right. Let's demote them to the G League. The San Antonio.
Bring up Ignite or something and let them.
Right. We'll have the San Antonio, I don't know, Sea Chickens or something. I don't know.
I'll let them keep the name.
Okay, there you go. You get
just relegate them.
All right, bye.
But as far as the Miami thing, Udonis Haslam's going to save them or what?
Oh, well, clearly not. Obviously. He's like Spoelstra's right-hand man. Hell, maybe he could be the coach. Why not? But no, I don't think the coach answer, I don't pretend to know who the answer is. This is more of a intimation of maybe it's time for a change of voice, just for a change of voice. Like, it's been a very, very long time. That's all.
I mean, I don't see a coach out there who's.
I mean, look, it helped Brooklyn quite a bit. They've been much better since Jacques Vaughn took over.
Yeah.
They've
also had a fuller roster.
Well, yeah, but the Heat have mostly had a full roster, and they're still underachieving. I mean, they haven't had major injuries this year. They've been pretty much healthy all year.
Butler's been in and out.
Yeah, but they're like a game here, 2 games there. He hasn't missed like chunks of time.
It's more maintenance.
Yeah. So Bam missed a couple of games early, but they've been mostly healthy. I don't know.
Whoever the coach ends up being, they got to find a big.
Oh, they need a big. There's no doubt about that.
They've got to find bench pieces. Why not tank this year and try to get Wembayana?
Nah. Never a fan of tanking. And I'm sure Riley's not either. But
I was not serious.
Hey, you never know with you. You got that deadpan humor. I never know when you're joking or when you're serious.
I hate tanking.
Yes, it's not a good thing. I agree.
No, and it seldom works.
That's true too. Just ask the Kings. It took them 20 years.
Okay, you prove me wrong, Edmonton Oilers, but yeah.
Every once in a while.
It happened once. Okay.
There we go. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll come back and we will do our NFL power rankings. We got that coming up. We also have the power. We got the power, a powwow. We got NBA games to look forward to today, a whole lot of them. So we'll get to that. Of course, we have news you can use, top 5, and the question of the day as well. It's the Gary Ayd Show. Back after this here on The Cave.
Next flight, then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call, because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at crazy low prices. They have access to great prices and discounts at over 500 different airlines, plus 300,000 hotels and rental car companies. Their prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find the best price for you. Call SmartFares today and get ready to see the world with a fat wallet.
800-370-2460. 800-370-2460. 800-370-2460. That's 800-370-2460.
Come on. You watch the news. Be prepared to pay more taxes. Then, if you owe back taxes or haven't filed in a few years, get ready. The IRS, the largest collection agency in the world, will be coming after you with the power to collect taxes by any means they want to. Hey, they can freeze your bank account, your passport, even padlock your business. Oh, good times. Look, if the IRS claims you owe them $5,000 or more in back taxes and they're coming after you, don't panic. Call my friends at Get a Tax Lawyer first. Their job is to negotiate with the IRS and save you money. They're experts at it. That's all they do, and you can trust them. In some cases, they have reduced a $50,000 tax bill to less than $1,000. If you owe the IRS $5,000 or more in back taxes, call now for a free consultation.
Call 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. That's 800-649-8617.
All righty. NFL power rankings here on the Gary Ayd Show. And as has become custom, age before beauty on this show.
Oh, that's not fair. You'll never get a chance.
That's right. I'll go mute myself.
Yeah, before someone else does.
Oh, that's great.
And we'll find a way.
That's right.
Okay, I will start this.
All right.
Get this shindig working.
Let's
I've got
do
the
it.
Eagles, number 1.
Yep.
The Bills, number 2. The Cowboys, number 3. The Chiefs, number 4. This is tough. I wanted to put the Vikings here at 5. I think the first 4 are pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, they are.
I wanted to put the Vikings at 5 because, I mean, they're 10-2.
That's pretty rough.
They got the second best record in football.
That's pretty good.
It is. I'm going to put them at 5.
Yeah.
I got the 49ers 6 with a caveat that they don't just implode. I don't think they will.
I don't think they will either.
I have the Bengals at 7.
The Bungles.
They've shown me stuff in the last few weeks. I have the Dolphins at 8. The Giants at 9. and the Ravens at 10.
Okay.
I have yet to pull the Ravens out of my top 10.
I see that. So who was 9 for you?
The Giants.
All right. And 8 was
Gigantes. The Dolphins.
the Dolphins. Okay. All right. I'm going to go with the Eagles number 1. I've been won over. I'm still hesitant to put anyone over the Chiefs because I just can't see. It's just hard to imagine the Chiefs losing in a playoff game with the way Patrick Mahomes just always seems to find a way. But I'm going to give the Eagles their due. So I'm going to put them at 1. That, of course, means the Chiefs in number 2. Buffalo is 3. Dallas is 4. Same story. I mean, like you said, those 4 are pretty self-explanatory. 5, I'm going to switch it up here a little bit. I'm going to go with the Miami Dolphins at 5. I know they're coming off a tough loss against the Niners, but I've really liked their offense. I think the Niners, with this new quarterback, are going to take a step back. So I got the Dolphins at 5, moving the Vikings to 6, just barely. I just like the Dolphins' talent a little bit more. That means I have the Niners at 7. I know they've been awful lately, but I still believe in this coaching staff. I'm going to go with the Titans at 8. It's going to put
no Vikings anywhere.
No, I had them at 6.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Vikings are at 6.
All right.
Yeah, I have the Dolphins at 5, and the Vikings at 6, and the Niners at 7.
Okay.
Meaning the Titans for me are going to be 8. I'm going to put the Ravens at 9. And I'm going to go with the Giants at 10.
So no Bengals in your top.
No Bengals.
Okay.
Yep, no Bengals yet.
Now the Giants can do a lot to move up.
Yes, they could.
With their game against the
This is their last week in my top 10 unless they do something good this week coming up.
Well, they got to beat the Eagles at home.
Yeah, like to me, if they show up, like let's say they lose this game, but it's like a close game, like 28-26 or 31-28 or something like that. That might be enough to keep them in the top 10. It might not. But if they get like their doors blown off, like let's say it's 31-14 or something like that, then I'm going to have to reconsider. Because this is a test to see, can they play in the big sandbox? I don't necessarily need them to necessarily win, but I need them to show that like we belong in the discussion of the top 10 teams in the NFL. This is a chance to do that. That's what I want to see this week.
Yeah.
I think
I hear you.
Because it's hard to leave the Bengals out here, but I'm maybe a little bit regional biases, whatever. But I really like what the Giants have done to this point, but they're definitely at a point where it's like a real golden opportunity to prove it one way or the other. And we're gonna find out. This is a big litmus test for them because the Eagles are gonna be ready. I mean, that's a buzzsaw in Philly. That's a scary team.
It is, and offensively especially.
Oh my God, they got athletes every place, absolutely every place. So there you have it.
They do.
NFL power rankings, good stuff. And for the first time the last couple of weeks, I finally feel like some of these rankings like mean something. Like I'm fairly confident in the top like 5 or 6 teams. Like there's not a whole lot of like wiggle room. Like I think there's like margin between like maybe 8 and 10, maybe 7, depending. I think really, I would say if it weren't for the Garoppolo injury, which by the way might be a little less severe than initially thought, but
they're saying 7 weeks. There's 4 more weeks left in the regular
season. It would mean that he'd be coming back in the playoffs. So because of the Garoppolo
for the
injury,
Super Bowl probably.
Well, I heard
they got that far.
Well, I heard as early as the NFC, division round or up to the NFC Championship games because I heard 7 to 8 weeks. But
okay, well, there's only 4 weeks left in the regular season.
Right.
5 weeks.
Right. So 5 weeks. Then you have the wild card round. That's 6, which would give you the division round. Would be week 7.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, But
Okay,
what
we
I was
just have to.
just to
Oh, that's interesting.
just to finish my thought, though, what I was going to say is that if it weren't for the Garoppolo injury, I would think the only play in this top 10 would be 8 through 10. Now, with the Niners question mark at quarterback, I think you can make an argument that there's play 7 through 10. But really, the top 6 are pretty locked in.
Yeah. Yeah, we've changed orders up on each other a little bit, but it's the same 6 teams. And technically, the Niners, it's the same 7, at least for this week.
Yes. Yes.
And thankfully, we have a decent Sunday night game. The Dolphins at the Chargers. After last week's Dallas debacle, why they didn't flex that Bengals Chiefs game, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I realize Dallas is good television, but
That's probably
that wasn't good television.
That's probably why. Dallas just has such a national appeal that they figure, you know what? Let's just leave it. Like, if that was any other team, they probably would have flexed it. That's probably the only reason why they didn't.
They should have.
Yeah, that's probably the only reason they didn't.
This week, you got a good one. You got a clinker on Monday night, though, the Patriots and the Cardinals.
Well, let's talk some local teams real quick. I want to break down the Jets a little bit deeper. What do you really make of them? Because I know I've been hard on them all year, but like this Mike White kid really looks like he's got some game. I mean, he definitely has cojones. He's not afraid to let it rip. That's for damn sure.
No, he looked like that last year, though, too, for a couple of games.
Right.
And then it just, so, I mean, the jury's out.
Oh,
see
without
what
a
he
doubt.
does. See what he does against Buffalo this week.
Yeah, I mean, look, it certainly makes for an interesting conversation, right? Like, because now it's like a rookie quarterback all over again, right? Like, it's like that's what it is. This defense is great.
Defensively, they're there.
Oh, they're great.
They are a really good defense.
Let me ask you this. That's a good this could be an interesting conversation. If you were going to do like a fantasy draft, like I don't mean like fantasy sports, I mean like, you're playing Madden, that type of fantasy draft, and you had to take a defensive player with your first pick, how many defensive players around the NFL would you take before Sauce Gardner? Are there 5
Not many.
I mean, are there even 5? I don't know if there's even 5.
I don't think so. I mean, I would have said Aaron Donald, not now.
Maybe Nick Bosa still, probably. I mean, Bosa's an animal.
Did I send you something? Bosa and
maybe
if I didn't, I have something to send you.
Okay. Maybe TJ Watt, perhaps.
A thing with numbers on Bosa and
yeah, you'll have to send that to me.
Parsons.
Yeah, Micah Parsons is another one. If I was going to name these guys, those 3, I think.
You just named them.
I think that's the whole list. I mean,
I said, I would have said Aaron Donald at one time, but not now.
Right. No, that might.
And if I would have said a corner, I would have said Jalen Ramsey, but he's pathetic.
Oh, he stinks now. Yeah. I mean, no, that's how good Sauce Gardner is. I mean, and I was saying that in the draft. I said, this is the best player in this year's draft without question. Like, there was no doubt in my mind. I mean, you just look at him. It's like, because how often do you get a corner who's about the size of these receivers? Most of the time, these corners are giving up 3 to 5, sometimes 6 inches.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this guy's 6'3" or so. Like,
for the way they have to turn.
Oh.
And switch with their, use their hips and switch their bodies.
Yes.
Bigger corners don't always make it. Gardner's the total package.
Oh, he completely is. I mean, he's unbelievable. And you love the way he just absolutely, I mean, he reminds you of a Darrelle Revis, a Deion Sanders, in the way that he shuts down a side of the field. Like, if you're playing against the Jets, you're not really throwing to Gardner's side very much because it's not productive to do.
No, it's a waste of time to do it.
He's just so good. I love watching him play. I think he's fantastic. Giants, I think the Giants are a little bit more system than the Jets. I think the Giants are more,
they are,
coach, so to speak. But They have
And there's nothing wrong with the Jets coaching.
no, Saleh does a good job. Dable
Yeah.
is maybe a special coach, though. I mean, this is a guy
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
who might be a guy who's there for 15 years. He might be that type of coach, So
I can see that.
You
I
know.
can really see that.
And the Giants, as an organization, one of their strengths historically has been they're predisposed to not being quick on the trigger with coaches, which is generally
Right.
good. Like, they go
It
through a
is.
rough
It
patch. They're
is.
not just going to abandon ship automatically, which
They've
is
had a
good.
couple of reasons to in the last 5
Well,
years.
yeah, maybe that's
normally they do not.
That's worked against them maybe the last couple of coaches because they waited maybe longer than they should have to can both of them. But
Yeah.
but generally, I think that's a good trait to have. So we'll see how it plays out. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up the hour.
Oh, and I just sent you that thing. So maybe if you want to discuss that when we come back, I think it's
All right.
interesting.
We can do that. Then we got the question of the day, news you can use, top 5, lot to get to in hour 2. Back after this, the Gary Ayd Show here in the cave.
Are you like me? You have health insurance, but you don't have dental insurance. Do you need to get to the dentist right away? Maybe you need an implant or some other major service. Well, I found a dental insurance plan that's just right for you. It's called Spirit Dental. Spirit Dental offers a $100 lifetime deductible, a huge network of dentists. And here's the best part. There's no waiting periods. Yeah, that means you can call right now and have real dental insurance for you and your family tomorrow and get that immediate coverage you want. Spirit Dental has plans for just a few dollars a day, up to $5,000 annual maximum, and coverage for implants. Whatever age you are, the dental insurance you need is a free phone call away. Now don't wait, and be sure to ask about Spirit's vision plan. Here's the number: 800-631-9229. 800-631-9229. That's 800-631-9229.
Hey friend, life happens and you need money. What do? You call the special toll-free number we're about to give you. We will send you a link to your phone with details on how you can loan up to $5,000. Couldn't you use $5,000 to pay for your rent, pay grocery bills, get your car repaired, or whatever you need? It's up to you. We don't care. We're just here to lend you the money. And we'll lend people money with good, bad, or no credit at all. Of course, some terms and conditions apply, and you'll see those on the link we're going to send you. So if you need up to $5,000 maybe as soon as the next business day, call this number right now. We will text you a free link with details.
Paid for by Money Mutual. Call 800-586-7112. 800-586-7112. 800-586-7112. That's 800-586-7112.
All righty, we're back here on the Gary Ayd Show. Good to have you aboard. And looking at some of these numbers here, Rich sent me over the break, comparing Nick Bosa and Micah Parsons. And which of these two would you pick for Defensive Player of the Year? It's a tough call.
I already know who I would pick.
Who would you
And
take?
if you reversed the two teams on this, if Bosa was a Cowboy and Parsons was a Niner, the media would be talking about Bosa being the best defensive player in history. I would pick Bosa. And honestly, if you look at the numbers, it's not that close.
Yeah, this is hard for me because,
and I think Parsons is a special player.
This is really
Bosa is too.
Oh, they're the two best defensive players in the NFL, I think.
Yes.
And TJ Watt is in there and Sauce Gardner. Those four separate themselves. You can nitpick about the order all you want, and obviously it depends what you need / what you prefer, what type of player. But I mean, the thing about Parsons to me is as a middle linebacker, you have a different level of responsibility in terms of organization of a defense than an end does. And I mean, Bosa's a monster. And look, I'm a Niners fan, so I don't like the Cowboys, and Bosa's on my favorite team. But just trying to be objective about it, there's things that Parsons does that aren't going to show up in the stat sheet. the way a good screening center or a good, floor general would in basketball, that count too. And this is so hard for me. I probably would take Parsons.
I have two hands. I can count the number of times I've seen Parsons as a linebacker on those hands and have fingers left. He's basically a linebacker playing defensive end.
But he's the quarterback of that defense.
Quarterback hits, pressures, most important thing to me in a pass rusher. And Bosa's got them both. I think it's very close. And it's hard to compare, but I'm 100% production, not height.
Okay. I mean, I think both.
I think it's extremely close.
It's hard. I mean, these guys are both awesome.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I'll take Bosa easily.
Right. Oh, this is
because
hard.
It's not. I'm just very sure about my decision. And the fact he's done this even longer, which amazes me that Parsons is doing this much in his second year. It's tough, though. It's a tough call. I just have to give it to Bosa.
Right. It's tough. I'm going with Parsons. For me, I think he's like I think they're both unique players, but like,
yeah,
I don't know that I've ever been more disappointed in a team that I don't root for than I was with the Giants the year they didn't draft Parsons. Like,
we had many a discussion about
it. Was so obvious. It's like, what are you doing? It was like a blind person could see this. Ray Charles could see this is the best pick, and he's blind and dead. It's like,
and then
my
you let
God.
him go to the Cowboys.
And the best part about that was, how like they usually, I think it's mostly for effect. Sometimes maybe not, but how like they always take the pick down to like the last second before they announce it. The Cowboys announced that pick in like 3 seconds. They're like, wait, what? Parsons, hurry, before they change their mind. Like, yep.
I know.
Jerry Jones is probably laughing his ass off. Like, these idiots. Thank you.
I mean, because you knew the Bears weren't going to take him at 11.
Well, because they had Mack at the time. Khalil Mack was.
They wanted a quarterback.
Right, and they needed a quarterback. And they had Khalil Mack, who at the time was probably the best defensive player in the NFL. So, yeah.
Still no slouch.
No, he's still awesome, but at the time.
Falling off just a little.
Yeah, so, but, oh, man, that was crazy. So, yeah, that's a good conversation. It's a tough one.
I thought the comparison was valid.
No, it is. I mean,
like I said, if you listen to the national media, Parsons is the second coming, and Bosa's just another guy.
Yeah, well,
he's good.
I mean, Bosa's a beast, but so is.
I know, but
I mean,
like I said,
what's funny is like
Cowboy-leaning national media loves that team.
Well, you could turn you could add TJ Watt to this conversation real easy too if you wanted to.
And I looked up some numbers. Of course I did.
That's what you do.
See what you made me be.
You're a total Poindexter now. It's all my fault. I'm gonna buy you a unlocked version of Excel for Christmas.
Oh man. He just missed too many games too.
Yeah.
In the last 2 years.
Yeah. Well, last year he like damn near set a sack record though.
Yeah.
I mean, when he's on the field, he's an absolute monstrosity.
He is. And when healthy, he's absolutely in the conversation.
Yep.
The numbers are comparable.
And what spawned this whole debate, just to kind of circle this back as we head to our next break, we were talking about Sauce Gardner of the Jets, who is, in our estimation, among the top 4 defensive players in the NFL with the 3 guys we've been discussing, TJ Watt, and of course, Bosa and Parsons. So, I mean, that's what brought this up, because Gardner's that special, and he's a rookie. It's amazing.
He came into the league.
Yes. Yeah, amazing.
And by week 4, he's the best corner in the league.
Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah, he's incredible. He really is. Every once in a great while, you get one of these guys, and we've gotten 2 in the last couple of years with Parsons and now Gardner, that
Yeah.
it's 100%, no question. The absolute floor on these guys is Pro Bowl. Like, there's no way it's less than that. Like, that's the absolute minimum. And you don't get that every once in a while. I mean, really, before these 2, over the last couple of years, the last time I think you could really say that with absolute certainty was probably when Andrew Luck came into the NFL.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point.
You know, I mean, you just don't see it. I mean, you get guys like who will be solid starters almost every year. You get an Aiden Hutchinson, you get you'll get a
Hutchinson's going to be good.
Right, he's a beast, right? So you get
So's the kid the Giants got, Thibodeau. He's going to be good.
Typically, you'll get a couple of offensive linemen that are going to be solid. But for you to know going in basically 100% that the absolute worst case scenario is a couple of Pro Bowls with this guy, that doesn't happen hardly ever. And when it does, it hits you in the face like a ton of bricks, which is why it drives me crazy the Giants didn't take Parsons. Anyway, on that note, let's go to break.
Well, 4 teams passed on Sauce Gardner.
At least most of them passed on them for quarterbacks. At least that
last year
wasn't didn't
Hutchinson was the first pick.
Well, he was he was the second pick, Hutchinson.
Oh, who was the first?
Let's take a look. I thought it was a quarterback. I thought it was a quarterback. Let's see. I lost my train of thought here, but I think it was a quarterback. I know Hutchinson went to the Lions.
I didn't think it was a quarterback-rich draft last year. No, the first quarterback taken was Pinkett.
Okay. All right. No, I'm thinking a couple of years ago. I'm sorry. I'm thinking the Trevor Lawrence draft with Zach Wilson and all that.
And
right.
there weren't quarterbacks, and outside of the Lions taking Hutchinson, who I thought was the best player in the draft, Gardner would have been my second pick.
Yeah, that's probably
only because it's just as hard to find those D linemen too.
Oh, without a doubt.
And again, it depends on the team and the need. Detroit needs to build from lines out.
Right.
The Jets didn't need to. They needed and got the best defensive back in the last 15 years.
Yeah, probably since the last greatest defensive back, which was Darrelle Revis, also a Jet, predominantly.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's take a break. We'll come back. We got the top 5. What do we got today? Let's do a little tease here. What's on the menu?
Oh, we got some free agent stuff.
Ooh, some free agent top 5. Sports specific or broad?
Sports specific.
Okay.
And this is going to be part 1 of a 2-parter.
Ooh, it's a 2-part series top 5. And
yes.
For those new to the show, this top 5 we do every day at the top of hour 2. I don't know the answer. I don't know the question ahead of time. This is the most information I've ever gotten ahead of time. So you're going to find out with me what kind of challenge Rich is putting me up to come up with off the top of my head with this top 5 next. Back after this, hour 2, the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave. Oh, baby. Hour 2. The Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave. Great to have you aboard. CaveTalkRadio.com is the website. The Cave Talk Radio app. Free, Apple and Google. Download it. You can take it with you in the car. Works just like Spotify, Pandora, and of your other favorite listening apps. Perfect with Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. Definitely check that out. And, of course, we're on Facebook and YouTube Live. Gary Ayd, Rich, and Selmo. Hour 2, top of the hour. Here it is, top 5. Let's hear it, Jack George.
This is the moment we've all been waiting for. It's time for King Talk Radio's Top 5.
Oh, yes, it is. All right, Rich, what do we got today? We teased it before the break. We're doing free agent stuff. Let's fill me in. What are we doing?
We are considering all the baseball news that has come down. This is part 1 of a 2-part question.
Okay.
Give me your top 5 favorite baseball free agent signings, or most intriguing. I'll put it like that.
Most intriguing.
Any team, anytime.
Well, the Alex Rodriguez signing in Texas was pretty earth-shattering. I mean, at the time he signed that contract, it was for $252 million and 10 years. The average, big contract was about less than half that. It was about 95 or maybe 100 million was so that was so outlandish at the time. I mean, that doesn't sound out of place today. I mean, Trey Turner barely got more than that. He basically got the same deal because his was for 11 years. So if you annualize it, it's the same thing. And this is 20 years later, 22 years later, whatever it is, about 20 years later. So that contract will always stick in my mind as when you heard it, it was what I imagine it was the first time the Beatles came out. It was well, what the hell is this? This is so far off the beating path. It was just unreal. So that always sticks in my mind. Of course, as a Laker fan, we're doing baseball only, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say Shaq. All right, so baseball. Ken Griffey Jr. when he signed with Cincinnati was a big one. Mostly out of surprise. You kind of thought he was going to be with the Mariners for a while.
And so did the
Mariners. So when you heard that and you were wait, Cincinnati. But then you think about it. And of course, Griffey Jr.'s father was a major league player for a lot of years, made most of his career fame in Cincinnati, so, maybe there was that connection that might've been something to do with it, but still, I mean, the Reds are one of those teams since the late 90s, the early 90s, since 1990, really, other than a random flare up here or there, they've been pretty much useless. And when Griffey signed with them in the, I think it was exactly the year 2000, 99, 2000, that was still the case. They were bad for 10 years. They've been bad mostly ever since then too. Of course, he had injury problems, but that was a big one. I was surprised at that. When you think about the historical context of where things were at the time, that was a big one. Another one that comes to mind for me was when the Mets signed Carlos Delgado. It wasn't a huge deal, but it signified that they were serious for a little while. Because he was a serious player and he really was good for their lineup. I was a big fan of his. He's another one that I don't understand why he's not in the Hall of Fame. That's a whole discussion, but that guy was awesome. Let's see a few others. Certainly I remember when Randy Johnson signed with the Yankees, I was like, oh no. I said, this isn't going to work. Randy Johnson can't be in New York. He's a crazy guy. And sure enough, he had his worst season since his early years before he figured out how to pitch when he was with the Yankees, and he left again and he became okay again. That was just right from the beginning. I'm like, oh no, this isn't going to work. That was horrible. Let's see. Some others in baseball. Certainly the Mike Trout contract was just breathtaking in its pure volume and size. I don't know if that's going to make my list, but that's something, kind of more
You know, that
recently.
wasn't a free agent signing.
No,
either.
it was a re-signing. I mean, I guess,
Yeah.
so it's not really the same thing. It's just like, what a contract. But
Yeah, it was, and Judge just passed it.
yep. You know what was interesting? I'll give you two, because at the time they were sort of newish in the sense that like you didn't hear about it too much. When the Yankees and Red Sox were signing Hideki Matsui and Daisuke Matsuzaka respectively, both required like a king's ransom. You felt almost like you were paying the ransom, literally, to talk to these guys, just to talk to them. And like at the time, that was pretty new. I think the Mets had done something also in there with Kaz Matsui. Oh God, I tried to forget that, but unfortunately I can't. That wasn't good. But
I hear you. I hear you there.
That was a
completely.
rough one. But that was new at the time. Now it's become sort of more commonplace. You hear about these type of negotiating fees being paid to other countries, especially Japan, on a pretty regular basis. But those were that was a fun story to follow, because at the time I was like, wait, what do you mean you have to pay to talk to the guy? Like, it was really cool. And then of course both of them, to one degree or another, more so Matsui, but to a lesser degree Matsuzaka, ended up being pretty good players.
Yeah.
And then the guy that just left the Yankees, the sinker ball pitcher, Tanaka, he was really good for a while too. And
was.
Yeah, so those are a few that come to mind. So I'm gonna put these in order, rank them now that I've laid them out there. Alex Rodriguez's contract in 2000 with the Rangers is definitely number one. That was so earth-shattering. It's hard to. It's one of those things that if you weren't old enough to appreciate it at the time, it's hard to, look back through the lens of history and feel what that felt like, because like I said, at the time, it more than doubled what you were seeing as like the top contracts. It was so far beyond what was already established. Usually you have like inflation creep where like, okay, if you sign a free agent deal in 1995 for 40 million, the guy that signs in 2005, who's a relatively similar player, might sign for, 65 or maybe 80 million. Maybe it's 20, 30% more. Now all of a sudden you go from a guy signing for 100 or 95 million to 250. It was like, holy moly. So that's definitely number one. I mean,
that was groundbreaking.
It was groundbreaking. That's exactly right. So that's number one. Number two for me was probably Hideki Matsui, the more I think about it. Because he had such a reputation for being Godzilla over in Japan. And he certainly was no Godzilla, but he was a damn good player who made a lot of money and made a lot of big hits for the Yankees. Was a big time contributor to to their last World Series team too in 2009.
Yes.
He was really, really good. Let's see, who else do we have here? Griffey Jr. makes the list, I think, at 3, purely off of just shock. Like, wait, what? Cincinnati? What? Like, why? How? Like, I just remember, because at the time he was my favorite player. So that was like a shock to the system for me. Number 4, I think I'm gonna go with Matsuzaka, because it still wasn't quite normal at the time with the negotiating with Japan, and this was like a pitcher who was also supposedly like this great player. And you learned after those two, at least I did, that there's a healthy dose of hyperbole applied to these guys going in. So like both guys were good. I mean, neither was a bust by any stretch, but neither lived up to being Godzilla or like the, unstoppable ace that, Matsuzaka was billed as. Matsuzaka was a 3, basically. His best years, maybe he pitched like a 2. His worst years, maybe.
But in
he pitched
his
like
defense, I think some of his best years were already past him.
Well, in both cases, yeah. Certainly, these guys weren't 24. I mean, in Matsui's case in particular, he was like, I think he might have been like 32 or 33 when he got here.
Yeah.
I think Matsuzaka was a little younger. I think he was still in his late 20s, maybe 28 or 29 when he got to the US. But in any case, those two are definitely. And then number 5, this is just a homer call. I'm a Met fan. Always loved Carlos Delgado for a lot of years. I was so happy when they signed him. It's probably not the most important signing, but
such a great player.
oh, he was awesome. And I loved him for so many years. And when he came to the Mets, I was like, yes. So that one made me happy. And unlike some others, he actually panned out and he did exactly what I think you could have expected from him at that point in his career. So I was happy with that.
Okay.
So there you have it.
And please don't ever apologize for putting someone on your list.
On my list. Yeah.
It's your top 5.
Yep.
It's not mine. It's not anyone else's. It's yours.
So there's your
So
list.
you can probably figure what tomorrow's will be, but okay. That's good. That's a nice start.
That's
a nice start. I like that.
All righty. Well, there's our top 5. Let's go ahead and take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll do let's look at the NBA. We got a lot of NBA games today. We'll look at that.
Yeah, we got some good ones.
We got the question of the day, and then we have news you can use. That's what's on tap the rest of the way. Back after this, the Gary Ayd Show. You're in the cave.
Face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you are ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with a free call. 800-741-9557. 800-741-9557. 800-741-9557. That's 800-741-9557. If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. Ouch. Well, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers. If you administer insulin 3 or more times per day or use an insulin pump, call now and learn how a CGM can help you.
Painless. No more pricking my finger.
No finger pricks.
Convenience. They delivered it free and they took care of all the paperwork.
You can reduce pain right away. Plus, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you spend more time in range. And if you have insurance, you can get a new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. Call now and get free shipping of your new CGM. Plus, we'll bill your insurance for you. 800-826-5884. 800-826-5884. 800-826-5884. That's 800-826-5884.
All righty, we're back. Great to have you aboard the Gary Ayd Show here on the Cave. All right, a lot of NBA action tonight, Rich. Couple of games that I wanted to jump off with. One, maybe a finals preview. Definitely the game of the night. Boston and Phoenix. Get your popcorn ready. This should be fun.
I think it should be too, but I'm not sold on Phoenix as being the finalist in the West.
Well, I'm not sold on anyone in the West, like we were discussing yesterday.
Yeah.
They at least have the best record in the conference right now. But yeah, I'm not sold on anyone in the West. But it's very possible it's a finals matchup. I mean, Boston certainly looks the part, and Phoenix looks as good as anyone in the West has looked. So
yeah, and that is the late ESPN game as well.
Yep. So that game will be awesome. Another game that I'm looking forward to, Sacramento. They're going to be playing Milwaukee tonight. And that's a really cool matchup.
It's going to be a good test for them.
Yes. Yep. Good test for both teams, really. I mean, because Milwaukee is about a league average team offensively. Their defense really, is really strong. I read a good piece, I think it was on ESPN, about Javion Carter being like basically a bulldog, and even Drew Holiday, who is like Mr. Bulldog himself, was like, he's even crazier than me. And that's
that says a lot.
That's high praise.
That is going to be one of the most fun games for me.
Yeah, I can't wait for that game.
A little hometown flavor. The first ESPN game tonight is the Hawks at the Garden to play the Knicks.
I got the Knicks in this one myself. I think they've actually been noticeably better defensively in the last couple of weeks. Last couple of games, I mean. And I wonder if that's going to be a trend, because you've never really seen a Tom Thibodeau team struggle defensively for a whole season the way the Knicks have been struggling so far this year. So,
except that one Minnesota team.
Right.
But they just didn't listen.
Right. They were just malcontent.
Yeah.
I think the Knicks might have figured something out with the recent roster tinkering that Thibodeau has done. I think this will be a good test to find out. But I got the Knicks tonight. And I also don't know if this whole thing with Trae Young and Nate McMillan is fully over like they say it is. I'll believe it when I see it.
He's playing.
He's playing, but
yeah.
I wonder if there's some lingering going on there.
There might be. The Lakers are at Toronto. I don't think we have LeBron tonight.
Right.
Second game of a back-to-back. They've been sitting him out.
Okay. And then,
which is why I think I said he was doubtful.
Right. And then Davis.
But I wouldn't say out. We don't know about Davis. They haven't come out and ruled him out.
He annoys me with this stuff, man. Like, if he has it, like we were saying yesterday, if he has a hangnail, it's like a week. Like, oh my God, man. Like, grow a set, please.
If you left last night because you have the flu, I get it. Play tonight.
Right.
Drink fluids, play tonight. Have some tea this afternoon. Just play the game. Chances are he may not.
Yeah. Well, if the Lakers don't have LeBron and Davis, you can forget about it. That's going to be a disaster.
And that frustrates me greatly, as I know it does you.
Oh, it drives you nuts. I mean, like, I have no problem with managing LeBron's minutes. He's in year 20. He's played 4 million minutes. He's 38 years old. Like, he should be managing his minutes. Davis needs to be carrying the bucket here. He really does. And to this point, he's been, the last couple of weeks, he's been doing it. But, like, it can't be 2-week stretches, man. That's what we need you to be. We don't expect you to score 50 every night or even 40, but we need you going out there giving maximum effort on both sides. I need 25 to 30 and 12 to 15 from you every night. I do.
Absolutely.
That's just what you need. And there's no reason he shouldn't be able to do that.
And again, I'm going to make a point about back-to-backs. And I know it doesn't bother you like it does me, and I respect that. But people in Toronto get one shot a year at the Lakers. And they don't get LeBron. And I hate it. I just do. And lately, the way we've been doing all this, oh man, the number of back-to-backs is staggering. There's got to be a better way.
Yeah, I still don't have an issue with it. I really don't.
I didn't expect you to.
Yeah, it's really not a big deal to me. I think that, the bigger issue is the motivation of the teams to want to put their best product on the floor by any means necessary as often as possible, basically every night. And that's where you might have a league issue where, like, how do you create that sense of urgency? I don't know.
Well, if it wasn't a back-to-back, LeBron would be playing. There's nothing wrong with it.
Right, but if there was a bigger sense of urgency for every single game, he would also be playing.
Right.
I don't think the problem is asking pro athletes to play 2 nights in a row. I think the problem is
asking 19-year vets to.
Well, but how many of those? I'm not going to change a rule for a 20-year veteran, because how many 20-year or even 15-year veterans are there in a given season? There's probably 12 of those.
Right, but you got guys managing injuries, and
But
there's a lot of.
But guys who are that long in the tooth are never this good. Like, every once in the blue moon, you'll get a guy who's in year like 17, like Kobe or Dirk, who's still like pretty good. But for the most part, even the all-time greats, Kevin Garnett, Tim Duncan, were basically role players at that point. And Duncan is a bad example because he was never really a draw anyway. But like, it's just, I don't know. I don't think that a rule has to be changed because Toronto's not going to see LeBron.
I think
20.
they should just be a little smarter with their scheduling. There's way too much of it.
Yeah, I don't think it's even an issue. Like, it wouldn't even be on my docket if I was the commissioner. Like, I wouldn't even be thinking about it.
Of course he won't.
I would no, and I wouldn't.
It's
be
my
either.
issue, Gary. It's not the league's.
I wouldn't be thinking about it either. I'd be thinking about load management as a tool that needs to be blunted. I definitely would be on that. But I'm totally of the opinion that if you give these guys an inch, they're going to take a mile. It'll never be good enough. If you give in to them on the back-to-backs, they're going to want only X amount of games in the week. If you give in to them on that, they're going to want only 50 games a year. Like, it's never going to stop. So I'm not giving them anything.
Well, that argument about the season being too long, you want to end that? Okay, we'll cut it to 60 games. We're restructuring every contract.
Yeah, I don't want
that'll go away fast.
Right. Well, yeah, it definitely would. I mean, we saw that when when Kawhi and everyone was like saying we're not going to play because of social cause X, Y, or Z. The league was like, okay, fine, but you're not getting paid. And guess what? They all played.
Yeah.
It's funny how that works.
Rule changes mean nothing unless you don't mess with their money. Another interesting game tonight, at least locally. The Nets are home to take on Charlotte. Not a great draw, but a game being played in the city.
The Nets are interesting right now because they're playing pretty well.
They are.
And Simmons is still out. I am done with this. Done.
He's supposed to be back by the weekend.
I'm telling you, we should have a starting street clothes team. We could have Ben Simmons. Kawhi
Well, don't do it now. Don't do it now.
Oh, right. All right. What else we got? Let's see. I'm big into this game with Sacramento Milwaukee. I'm going back to that one because I'm going to be watching that game. That game's going to be cool.
That's, I think, is the most exciting game of the night.
I completely agree. I absolutely agree. Boston Phoenix will be interesting too. Let's see. Golden State and Utah. Some people might find that intriguing. I don't like watching Golden State, so that won't be on my list.
And I'm not as intrigued with Utah as I was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, me either. I agree with you that. Oklahoma City and Memphis could be an interesting game.
Good.
That's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is almost worth turning on the TV all by himself these days. And then I get John Morant too.
Is he a starting guard in the All-Star game this year?
Really should be. I know Charles Barkley was talking about that recently. I agree with him. I think he absolutely should be.
Well, I'll take the Kenny Smith side of the argument. Who do you leave out? Doncic? Booker?
Probably Booker.
Really?
I think Gilchrist SGA has had a better season in terms of playing above his expected level than Booker has. And,
I think Booker's carried that team without Chris Paul, and I think he's got all-star written all over.
Oh, I think they'll both be on the team. But if you ask me to start one or the other, I think Gilgeous-Alexander is the starter. I would start him and Doncic in the backcourt in the West. That would be my starting backcourt.
See, I might start Morant.
Well, and you get to watch him tonight, too. That's what makes this game great.
Yeah. I want to see those two go at each other.
That's exactly what makes
this
this
should be
game.
a fun game.
Oh, I can't wait to watch that one. if you have national TV, you're getting the Knicks and you're getting the Celtics tonight.
Right.
So there you have it. Good stuff. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll do the question of the day. Then we got news you can use. That's what's on tap the rest of the way. The Gary Ayd Show back after this here on The Cave.
Are you like me? You have health insurance, but you don't have dental insurance. Do you need to get to the dentist right away? Maybe you need an implant or some other major service. Well, I found a dental insurance plan that's just right for you. It's called Spirit Dental. Spirit Dental offers a $100 lifetime deductible, a huge network of dentists. And here's the best part. There's no waiting periods. Yeah, that means you can call right now and have real dental insurance for you and your family tomorrow and get that immediate coverage you want. Spirit Dental has plans for just a few dollars a day, up to $5,000 annual maximum, and coverage for implants. Whatever age you are, the dental insurance you need is a free phone call away. Now don't wait, and be sure to ask about Spirit's vision plan. Here's the number: 800-631-9229. 800-631-9229. That's 800-631-9229.
Hey friend, life happens, and you need money. What do? You call the special toll-free number we're about to give you. We will send you a link to your phone with details on how you can loan up to $5,000. Couldn't you use $5,000 to pay for your rent, pay grocery bills, get your car repaired, or whatever you need? It's up to you. We don't care. We're just here to lend you the money. And we'll lend people money with good, bad, or no credit at all. Of course, some terms and conditions apply, and you'll see those on the link we're going to send you. So if you need up to $5,000 maybe as soon as the next business day, call this number right now. We will text you a free link with details.
Paid for by Money Mutual. Call 800-586-7112. 800-586-7112. 800-586-7112. That's 800-586-7112.
PGA defector Bryson DeChambeau went full Hulk during the pandemic. Los Angeles Football Club is out for blood. Well, maybe not blood, but definitely DNA. I am KO. Back in a minute with your sports question of the day.
If you have diabetes and you're on Medicare, you may qualify for a free continuous glucose monitor system. The new CGM systems can automatically manage your diabetes better for you. And by using a CGM system, you can eliminate forever one thing most people with diabetes hate the most: finger sticks. End the painful finger sticks and get a new CGM monitoring system at little or no cost to you. We even provide in-home delivery and do all the insurance paperwork for you. Now is the best time to manage your diabetes better and get your continuous glucose monitor. Call now for details. Call 800-438-1391. That's 800-438-1391. Paid for by U.S. Med.
LAFC will be using genetic testing software to analyze athletes' genetic data for the purposes of training and injury prevention. The Major League Soccer club has partnered with genetics testing company 3x4 Genetics, which built its new GeneFit software specifically for elite sports organizations. GeneFit tests for gene insights on metabolism, inflammation, detoxification, fitness, weight, hormones, cognition, and responses to certain foods or supplements. Question for parents: would you or would you not do genetic testing on your kids to improve their trainability and help them prevent injuries?
Hell no. Get that Frankenstein science fiction nonsense away from my kids.
First of all, this is considering that every parent must think their kid's an elite athlete.
Well, there's that too. Right?
Why would you even
Right.
do
Yeah.
it?
Little Johnny playing soccer is like, yeah,
He's got a scholarship waiting for him. I got to get him genetically tested.
Oh my
here.
God.
Well, believe me, parent, he's carrying none of your genes, or very little if he's good. No, I would not put a kid through that. There is absolutely no reason for it.
I almost understand in the hyper competitive world of pro elite sports where you're searching for any little type of advantage you can get. I could almost understand an individual athlete saying, I want to do this. And that's fine.
Yeah, as long as they're old enough to make that decision.
Right, as long as they're an adult, and also as long as it's their choice. The way this makes it sound is like when you sign up for this team, when you get signed by this team, this is like part of our bit. And like, I would be throwing a fit if I was one of those players. Like, I wouldn't be going with this. This would be the type of thing that I would go full Kyrie on. I would not play before I would submit to this kind of stuff, because I won't even do Ancestry.com, because really the truth is those companies, they don't make their money on the $25 or $30, whatever that kit is. Their money is in selling your data, your genetic data, not just like your usernames and passwords and like, credit score and like, shit that's like, not, that's like normal transacting data. No, this is like your physical biology. They're selling that to God knows who have God knows what intentions. Like, no, absolutely not. Not a chance.
And I'll shoot the Ancestry.com thing down easily. A friend of mine in Southern California and her sister both did Ancestry.com, and to put them in different families. So what does that tell you?
That's great.
Now you know that's a crock.
Was I adopted growing up? No one ever told me what's going on here. Ancestry.com said so.
Have you known your sister all your life? She's like, yeah. Well, then you just wasted money on Ancestry.
Wow, that's a good one. Yeah, no, so
that's a true story.
I believe it. Yeah, so I'm not touching this stuff because like this is even more intrusive. Metabolism, body weight. What else they had in there? Like how you respond to certain foods, like mental cognition. Like what? No. Get away from me, Dr. Frankenstein.
If a player wants to subject himself to that, that's his right.
All the way. Anyone can do what they want.
I don't like forced.
Yeah, you're not.
I don't like the forced end.
Yeah, right. If the team is going to say this is what we do, I'm saying no, it's not. And if they say, well, you have to do that, I say I'm not. And this is a deal breaker. Like I will absolutely walk away from a contract over this. There's no doubt in my mind. It wouldn't even be a hard decision. I wouldn't even think.
And if you're one of the best soccer players in the world, you don't sign with LAFC knowing this.
Right, 100%.
If you go to sign with them and you don't know this, you haven't done your homework, or your lawyer hasn't.
And it's not.
These are pros,
right? And it's not 100% clear to me from the question if this is completely compulsory with LAX, or if it's just they're doing it, but if you say I don't want to, it's like, okay, you don't have to. That's not 100% clear to me, to be fair.
Yeah, they didn't make that distinction.
Yeah, but
as far as your kid goes, know what the chances of your kid playing pro is? Let's just
0.
Stop.
Yeah, like it's fractions and fractions above 0.
Yes.
I think I read somewhere that to this day, there's only been something like, almost 200 years, like 20,000 people who have played Major League Baseball. I mean, think about that for a minute. You're talking a sport that's been around in its current rendition since like 8 years or so after the Civil War, right? Like, so you're talking like the 1870s or 1880s. Let's call it 1880, just for
right,
because there's a little disparity as to when it started. Let's just call it 1875. Even. We'll say 1875. Okay. So you're talking, what is that?
Almost 150
years, 147 years. And there's been 20,000 roughly. Yeah, your kid's not going to be Mickey Mantle.
Right.
How about that? I'll just say it. And if I'm wrong, good for you. But I won't be wrong.
Oh, yeah. I mean, your kid may become Gorman Thomas, average player.
Right.
You never know. But
Right.
Yeah, 99.999% chance.
Yeah, lots
your
of
kid-
nines after that point.
Yeah, your kid's not going to be a pro.
Right, right.
So why would you subject
Oh,
a kid to this
God.
who's probably just out there to have fun?
Oh, yeah. And even if it's a reasonably good athlete, a competitive athlete who's going to get like a college scholarship to Hofstra or to Stony Brook or Marist or a school like that, Copen State,
Right.
like those guys still aren't going pro.
Right.
You know, like some of them might play, you know, A ball for a little while. Some might, you know, if you play basketball, you might go overseas and play in like a lower level league for a little while or play in something like the PBA in the US. But like, you're not going to the NBA,
Right.
you know?
And I've always said, because I coached kids baseball a while ago, I've always said the biggest problem with kids sports are the parents.
Well,
And it's 500 times worse now than it was when I actually did it.
Well, Yogi Berra would agree with you. He always used to say, Little League Baseball is great. It keeps parents off the streets.
Well, he doesn't agree with me. I'd rather have the parents on the streets and leaving the kids alone.
Yeah.
What these people yells to their kids, it's like, just let them play.
Dude, he's 12.
You're not reliving your failed childhood. Stop.
Right. Yep. That's right.
But you're going to make your kid resent you.
Yep.
So stop living in your past and
let them live in their present.
Yeah.
Yeah, let them be kids.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
So no, that would not happen
for me. This stuff is scary. It's spooky, man. It really is. Like, I mean, like, my God, at one point, Babe Ruth existed on hot dogs and beer and still hit 714 home runs. Now we're talking about friggin' reading people's genes. Oh, God, what a
Where
disaster.
does it end?
Well, there's the question. That is the $1 million question. Like, I mean, how much further invasive can you get than forking over your DNA? I mean, that doesn't get worse than that. I mean, the only next step is some type of like physical implant that's controlled by God knows who from God knows where. That's
what I'm afraid this is all coming to.
Right. Well, that's exactly what it's going to be. It's going to be like you know, those like RC cars. It's going to be like RC athletes. Like, oh, look, he's failing behind the plate. Quick, press the button, speed him up.
Like, you're going to have Ivan Drago running around out there. It's brutal.
My God, no. Oh, no.
I just don't understand all these attempts to take the human element out of sport.
And that's exactly what it is. It's like, you know, if people were interested in watching robots, there would be a lot more people watching robots. People watch people. The whole charm of the sports attraction is unknown of what's the limit of what a human can do, because I can't do that, and that is amazing. That's the appeal of sports.
Oh yeah.
If I know it's controlled by some bit of technology, that takes that away. And you know, it's not good. It's not good.
I have been to hundreds, over 1,000 professional sporting events in my life. And I never fail to marvel at what they're doing in their respective games.
Oh, it's amazing.
It is. And if you ever watch that Boston Dynamics, and that company that builds those robots, those things are freaky.
Oh, they are. Take me to your leader.
I don't
it's like
God. I don't like that. Well, they can work 10 times faster than you. Fine, then lube them up. I'll go. I want no part of them around me.
Yeah, go away. Yeah, I want nothing to do with that. I completely agree. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll come back and do a little hockey recap. Then we'll get into news you can use to close it out. That's what's on tap the rest of the way. Back after this, the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't, and you want to legally get out of your contract, Call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you're ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with a free call. 800-741-9557. 800-741-9557. 800-741-9557. That's 800-741-9557. If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. Ouch! Well, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers. If you administer insulin 3 or more times per day or use an insulin pump, call now and learn how a CGM can help you.
Painless. No more pricking my finger.
No finger pricks.
Convenience. They delivered it free and they took care of all the paperwork.
You can reduce pain right away. Plus, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you spend more time in range. And if you have insurance, you can get a new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. Call now and get free shipping of your new CGM. Plus, we'll bill your insurance for you. 800-826-5884. 800-826-5884. 800-826-5884. That's 800-826-5884.
Alrighty, Rich, give us our hockey lowdown.
Okay, 2 games last night that involve locals. What happened to the St. Louis Blues against the Rangers on Monday? They turned it around and did it to the Islanders last night, beating them 7-4. And in New Jersey, the Devils just surgically took apart Chicago 3-0 and played just about as close to a perfect game as you can see. This team is good and dangerous. There's a 7-game slate in the NHL tonight. We're going to concentrate on the 2 TNT games. They both involve New York teams. The Sabres are in Columbus to take on the Blue Jackets at 7:30. The Rangers are out in Vegas to play the Golden Knights at 10 o'clock. They're the 2 TNT games, and that's the hockey update.
There you go. Alrighty. What do we got for news you can use this week?
Well, the Rams claim Baker Mayfield off waivers. They were the only team to put in a claim.
Interesting.
What does that say?
Says that the #1 pick is on his last legs in the NFL.
He'll probably be a backup somewhere for a while.
Yep.
Or a third guy. He'll have contracts, but contracts. I hope he saved his money.
He'll fade into that Colt McCoy, Matt Barkley phase of his career.
McCoy's been useful, though.
At times, yes.
Yeah. Baker just hasn't shown me that. Former Saints coach Sean Payton says he'll coach again, quote, sooner than later.
Ooh. Sexy. I wonder where. See,
I don't know.
See, that's the type of guy. If I was a team that had, like, let's say I had a competent, good coach, but not an elite coach, that I was a good playoff team right now. Like, I'm thinking a team like the Jets. I'm thinking a team like the Cowboys even. I'm thinking about teams that have, like, good, solid coaches that they're not in jeopardy. But if Sean Payton made it clear, I want to coach your guys, I would make that move. He's one of maybe 3 or 4 coaches in all of football that I would fire a coach I'm generally happy with in a relatively stable situation because he's a difference maker. If that's what I'll have no idea where he's thinking about going, and that's probably not what's going to go down. But if I was like the Cowboys or the Jets, for example, and he indicated he wanted to coach either of my teams, I would make this spot available. I would have the deal done first to make sure that, I didn't have egg on my face, but I would definitely do that.
For me, the Cowboys more than the Jets. The Cowboys at least have their quarterback situation under control.
Yeah, it's a better fit for Peyton, who's a quarterbacks guy. Yeah, I mean the Jets probably don't make a lot of sense. I was just using them as an example of a team that's relatively competitive with a good but not spectacular coach that I would be willing to forgo for someone like Sean
Yeah.
Payton.
Okay.
There's others like that, I'm sure, but those two just came
Oh,
to
yeah.
mind quickly.
My thought was the Chargers.
Yeah.
What could Peyton do with Herbert? Jeez.
That's a great question. Here's another good question. They're a disaster right now, but could Sean Payton be the knight in shining armor to make Russell Wilson look like a good quarterback again?
I don't know. Pete Carroll had that secret sauce that nobody else seems to be able to put together. Of course, they entrusted it to an idiot, so that's on Denver.
Nate the Great.
Oh. Nate Archibald would hate you right now for putting him.
Well, that's Nate the Skate.
He was also great.
Well, there's that too, but his nickname was Nate the Skate, which is a great nickname, by the way.
Oh, what else do we have here? On CNN yesterday, Bomani Jones spoke out against Deion Sanders. He said, I don't judge him for taking the job in Colorado and increased his salary a whole bunch. I get that. It's something college coaches do all the time. But he came in and sold a long-term vision about what was going on at Jackson State, but his goals and aspirations were to be a Power 5 coach. Okay. I think he took the Jackson State job just because he wanted to be a head coach, but didn't want to be someone's assistant, and that was the opportunity.
Okay.
Said Jackson State is the place that could do that, and he did a lot of great work there. He said Sanders did great things for not just Jackson State, but for HBCUs in general. But he also said, I wouldn't have come in here in the first place and said, God sent me here to fix HBCUs. And then what? Did God decide in the middle that you're going to leave? He said he sold a dream and walked out on the dream.
Mm-hmm.
He says people have the right to be critical of that. But after saying all that, he also would have taken the job in Colorado. But it's not in line with what the bill of goods he sold. It's a lot, but
yeah, I mean,
I wanted your take on it.
There's a couple of things there. I mean, it's not the worst take I've ever heard Bomani Jones make. He's certainly made some much dumber ones. But like, I think the truth is you wouldn't be talking about Deion Sanders as a coach if he didn't sell that bill of goods. So Deion did exactly what he needed to do to raise his pub as a coach, so to speak, to raise his profile as a coach in order to get here. Because the truth is, let's say he just took that job at Jackson State and didn't have the same story. And he was just, I value this opportunity, blah, blah, blah. Let's say he played it vanilla. First of all, he probably doesn't get the job. And even if he does, the fact that he's done what he's done there wouldn't be the story it was, because the only reason idiots like Bomani Jones and other black apologists go on TV and talk about it is because it was all about the saving the black people narrative. That's the only reason it's a story. Let's just cut the crap and be real about it. So like, if he didn't make that story from the beginning, it wouldn't have even been a thing. So like, that's like, saying, well, if he didn't build this house, he wouldn't have got to live in it. Well, yeah. So like, let's just be clear. Like, come on. Like, it's like, yeah, if Rome wasn't in Italy, it wouldn't be Rome. Well, yeah, but it is. It's like, what do you want? Like, I don't know. I hate the, like, it's not the worst take in the world, but it just shows a level of disconnectedness from the reality of his own profession. You idiots wouldn't be on TV talking about this if it weren't for the fact that he was all about saving the HBCUs. That's the only thing you give a crap about, because you're a bunch of color obsessed simpleton morons.
The only question I have about it, what's Bomani Jones doing on CNN?
Well, that's where he fits. A take like that belongs on CNN. Maybe MSNBC. I don't know.
Just strange to me. And after all that, he said he would have taken the Colorado job too. Well, there's your bottom line.
There you
Thanks
go.
for playing.
Thanks for playing. Next question, right? Drew Rosenhaus style. Next question.
Okay. Aaron Judge says the Yankees wanted to, quote, turn the fans against me, end quote. by revealing the contract offer.
Well,
do you want the cake? Do you want to eat the cake?
yeah, it must
Shut
have
up and
mattered.
take your money.
Right. It must have mattered so much to him that he was like, yeah, I can't wait to be having angry fans at me laughing all the way to the bank.
So
Please.
if you're going on about the money, why didn't you just take the Giants offer, which was like 380 to 385 million?
Right. It's silly.
And before we cut this off, I know we're on a time crunch. The Titans fired their GM after the blowout loss to the Eagles.
Saw that. I mean,
so it was all his fault. Okay, I'm
Yes.
glad we got to the bottom of that.
Clearly it was his fault. Unbelievable.
I don't get it.
I don't understand either. Middle of the season, too. Late season, firing a GM.
I mean, you've got an entire scouting department.
Like,
I don't
why would you
understand.
do that in season? That's the thing I don't understand. You're probably going to be in the playoffs. Like, his work for the year is basically done at this point. Like, what's done is done. You're not going to appreciably change your roster right now. Even if you made the decision to fire him, that's fine. Why wouldn't you just wait till the offseason at this point when the new guy can hit the ground running? Like, what's the point right now?
Yes, do it at the end of the season.
It's just
But
silly.
now, if a new guy comes in, does he want these scouts? Does he want
Yeah, you can have turmoil and like going into the playoffs. Like, why would you do that?
Yeah,
It doesn't make any sense.
makes no sense.
Well, there you go.
Rick Tittle's in the corner and he's not happy.
Yeah, he's waiting for us. He's upset. All right, Rick. All right. Yeah, all right. I got you. All right. Rick Tittle is up next. We'll see you tomorrow. The Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.